Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jai Vishnu Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Astotra Shabda Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna It's nice you both are there because last 2 weeks you covered, so it's easy to sum up. Evam janmani karmani
Evam janmani karmani
hi akartur ajanasya cha
hi akartur ajanasya cha
varnayati sma kavayo
varnayati sma kavayo
veda guhyani hrutpate
veda guhyani hrutpate
evam janmani karmani hi akurtani ajanasya cha
hi akartur ajanasya cha
varnayanti sma kavayo
varnayanti sma kavayo
veda guhyani hrutpate
veda guhyani hrutpate evam janmani karmani hi akartur ajanasya cha varnayanti sma kavayo veda guhyani hrutpate
Evam janmani karmani hi akartur ajanasya cha varnayanti sma kavayo veda guhyani hrutpate
evam
Evam. Thus,
Janmani,
Janmani,
birth,
birth,
Karmani,
Karmani,
activities,
activities,
he, certainly,
certainly,
Akartu,
Akartu,
of the inactive,
of the inactive,
Ajanasya,
Ajanasya,
of the unborn,
of the unborn,
Cha,
Cha,
and
and
Varnayanti,
Varnayanti,
describe, Sma,
Sma,
in the past,
in the past,
Kavayaha,
Kavayaha,
the learned,
the learned,
Veda Guhyani,
Veda Guhyani,
undiscoverable by the Vedas,
undiscoverable by the Vedas,
Pritpate,
Pritpate,
of the Lord in the heart.
of the Lord in the heart.
Translation. Thus, learned men describe the births and activities of the unborn, uninactive, which is indiscoverable even in the Vedic literatures. He is the Lord of the heart. Thus, the learned men describe the births and activities of the unborn and inactive, which is undiscoverable even in the Vedic literatures. He is the Lord of the heart. So we say like first three chapters is, first chapter is loaded. First chapter, the whole Bhagavatam is very loaded, and the first three chapters is loaded philosophy. Generally encourage, in the book distribution, we encourage people to start from fourth chapter. And out of these three chapters also, like I found this as a very philosophical section. Starting from the text 31 onwards, until then there was the incarnations. So in the title of this chapter, Krishna is the source of all incarnations. It was established in the 28th verse, Ete Jamsa Kalapamsa, that verse. And then there is also Phalastuti, he mentioned, Sukadeva Goswami. It was a nice, it was inspiring for me, the Phalastuti. Sukadeva Goswami himself says, whoever recite this mystery morning and evening, he says, you will get free from, actually relieved from all miseries of life. So just a quick pause there, that we are talking only about we are only reciting the birth and activities of the Lord, and just doing in the morning and evening. And the result of that is, freedom from the miseries of life. And so they are mysterious, going back. Because it's interesting, right? Like, in which thing in this world can really give freedom from miseries? Really give. Some might give temporarily. They can numb, like these movies, or like these sports or gambling or any other things, or like any other passion, like strong desire to achieve things. They can numb the things, letting the person not get touched by the miseries. But who can really, which can really offer the freedom, right? And the word I was paying attention is here, that relief from the miseries of life. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha Gunamayi, this this Mama Maya energy is my divine energy, he says. Daiviyesha Gunamayi, Mama Maya, he says. And then he says, okay, if you want to overcome, good luck. It is never possible. There might be temporary, numbness can be possible, but it really, like, freedom can never happen. Right? Maya, Duratyaya. But this transcendental activities, just reciting these activities of the Lord, the power is that, that you get relieved from, grip of the Daivi energy. Right? So that was described, and then from text 30 to 37 onwards, section changes. Suta Goswami wants to establish other transcendental features of the Lord, which are like Brahman and Paramatma. So through this verse 28, he established the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, and he wants to establish the Paramatma and Brahman. And I think you covered uh, how to see matter, spirit in the matter, like which is explained through Viratrupa form.
Yeah, founder.
You have okay, Honorable Prabhu. So whoever persons who doesn't have any who want to start in the cultivation of God consciousness, basically they have no idea about God whatsoever. So they were encouraged to see the Lord in the Virat form, saying that this is the showing the mountains, and this is the feet of the Lord, and this is the belly of the Lord, this is the head of the Lord, like that. And through that also establishing that there is spirit, in addition to matter. So that introduction happens, and actually there was also nice analogy given, by just by seeing the president's car, we say that president has come, right? But really, the car is in any way, replicable to the president. No, we just identify with it, right? Similarly, by showing the Viratru, we establish that the presence of the Spirit and the presence of the Lord, right? And then the text 32 says about the spiritual impersonalism. These are all basically from the notes from the Original Prabhu's book. Spiritual impersonalism, for going further and establishing there is a spirit, and we don't need to struggle seeing ourselves these bodies. We just keep going our life, struggling so much actually. Thinking ourselves, we are this body, we are this person, we are this, we are that, we are that. And then there is a encouragement to go for spiritual realization, and thus get to the situate in our glory. Actually, that's what it says. We can be happy. We can achieve all our goals through that spiritual realization. So that is established. Now in this verse, further it is more explained. Actually, Srila Prabhupada says, how do we do that spiritual realization? How do we cultivate that? At the end of the paragraph, Prabhupada, last sentence, Prabhupada writes, we should always take advantage of the narrations of the activities of the Lord. The word I was taking note on is always take advantage. Always take advantage of the narrations of the Lord, narrations of the activities of the Lord, which are meditations on Brahman in the most convenient and palatable form. So there is seekers of the truth go through this Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan realizations, and even to get to the Bhagavan realization, we need to get into the Brahman realization. Krishna also proves that in Bhagavad Gita, right? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Nakanshati Samasarvesha Bhutrish. That's when we get Mad Bhakti Lavate Param. Until that, we are trying to do something. We are trying to connect. We are trying to do some worship to the Lord. Otherwise, like how can you worship the Lord on the material platform, really? Right. So these narrations of the activities of the Lord, easily their most convenient and palatable form, and easily brings on to the meditation of the Lord. So this was, I started reading this verse when I was coming back from India on the plane, Monday night, Tuesday morning. It was very inspiring. Okay, all we need to do is just hear from this Kavyo, the learned transcendentalist. That's it. You are out of the, all the mush we are going in. So it was so inspiring. And the moment the plane landed, I just immediately picked up my phone because I have been bereft of internet for 2 weeks. Because my phone doesn't work, and then the last 2 days host doesn't have internet, easy internet there. And then I was really handicapped, not not having internet. So the moment it landed, I turned on the internet and quickly going through all the emails. And I found out an email from the workplace. And reading through the email, my heart really sank down to my heart, down to the stomach. You know, there was like, no, she was calling for some meeting, and then I was thinking like, why do we need this? We all talked about it, and you know, how much time we want to go through it, and it's so painful to go through the process. You know, like, you know, mush the people in the meeting. You know, it will go for 2 to 4 hours, things like that, and then moved on to the police officer, security check, customs. So customs is also a big point for me. You know, we don't know what he will ask. Somehow it feels so scary talking to that person. And then it further went down, and then after all the thing, you get the luggage, and then we don't want when you get out, you know, the person who, you know, checks, right? Sometimes he send it for further screening of the luggage. I was really like, no, I don't want to go through that. You know, there's fear and all those things, of course. Vrindavan Prabhu did not notice everything, did not notice any of these things, because it's all the internal processing going on, right? So this is the life that goes, and then you know, you want to share this message. How do you really share it? Because the message you're not able to connect, you yourself is not able to pull yourself up. You know, how do you really share, right? There are like so many instances like that throughout this week. Quite a bit of preparation. I was telling Lingaraja Prabhu, don't put me in only put me in like once in a quarter or something like that. Too much exam. But interestingly, I was trying to take inspiration from this verse. And also because I was coming from Yatra, I made a note, because when you're in Yatra, you know, you're out of the different, you know, out in different world. You know, when you go and ask, how are you? You said, I'm excellent. You don't remember any of the miseries of the life. But then, you know, Maharaj commented, when you go back, you know, the same thing repeats again. So I was asking my intelligence, what should I do now? What should I apply now? Like, you know, how do I preserve? What notes did I take? Like that. But nothing was coming to my mind, because, you know, one thing is the heart is already sank, and the external, we also need to conduct ourselves in the external world. And also, I was also trying to see, Prabhupada was saying we should always take advantage. What should I do now? What should I do now? Nothing came to me at that point. Anyway, then I thought, okay, let me turn to the Lord, and then after some time again the engine picked up again, and then go on to again, you know, this go on enthusiastically and we strengthen the life. So there are some instances like that. So the lesson I was taking is, through taking up this, all the help available, we just need to keep ourselves alive in this process of devotion service. So we will see now what the Prabhupada says in purport. Both the Lord and the living entities are essentially all spiritual. That's a powerful statement. Both the Lord and the living entities, that means we are all essentially all spiritual. But how much do we connect ourselves is, we know that, right? Actually, I was also, you know, when I was coming to the airport in Delhi, I got a quick glance in a video going on there, and there was chimpanzee. It was trying to eat the leaves on the tree. The way it is eating is very interesting, like, you know, just very quickly going and biting. That made me think that, you know, although we are practicing, at least, you know, the people like me are practicing devotion service, still the concern is still in this, you know, concern about the, you know, the basic needs, starting with the eating and sleeping and mating and defending. We have not yet come to the inquiry of the Lord yet. Just as reflection came. So we are all spiritual, but, you know, how much we are there is, not there yet. Therefore, both of them are eternal, and neither of them has birth and death. this is also interesting. Neither of them, including us, also do not have birth and death. Right? The difference is that the so-called birth and disappearance of the Lord are unlike those of the living beings. The living beings who take birth and then again accept death are bound by the laws of material nature. Like bound, I don't know what bound means. Do you have any quick thoughts what the bound means?
It's constraining.
Constrained, you just, bound, you cannot move anything, right? So that's how it goes, like this meeting with my colleague, I can propose something and I can do this and then I can win over. So it won't stop there. Even my winning over, getting a temporary relief will not stop there, because she can take it to herself and then she can try to take revenge on, revenge on me. Or if she wins, then I take it personal to me. I try to take revenge on me, and then mutually going on for, I wish it is just 1 month, 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, but it will go on for some bursts, maybe 100 or 1,000, whatever bursts we can count on. So that's how we are bound. But the so-called appearance and disappearance of the Lord are not actions of material nature. That's the difference. But are demonstrations of the internal potency of the Lord. Right? That's the difference between the living entity and the Lord. The Lord is, both are spiritual, both doesn't need to go through the birth and death, but he does take birth and death activities by his internal potency, Swamaya. But the living entity go through all these things through the actually under the bondage of material nature. Material nature means modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness. Everything binds. You do good, and they say, my dear boss, you need to be, the CEO of this person, or you need to be this devata. You need to stay back in this world. Or you do bad, the same thing. You need to stay back in this world. Or you do something neutral, still the same thing. We need to stay back in this material nature. So, but the activities of the Lord are the internal potency of the Lord, or by the internal potency but demonstrations of the internal potency of the Lord. Then it brings us a question: both the Lord and the living entities are spiritual, and they don't have birth and death. So, does it mean we can also do something by our own internal potency? It's a nice question to ask ourselves, right? The answer is yes. We do, the living entities do have the power to do things by internal potency. They are described by the great sages for the purpose of self-realization. When we get to this self-realization, we know Narad Muni, he does things on his own, right? He is not bound. And when we see the great souls. So we also can practice and try, internal potency. Doing by our own internal potency means, Swamaya means like voluntarily doing instead of it's basically like living a responsive life instead of reactive life. Material nature does pushes things on us, but we do have the choice to lead, respond, take a voluntary action instead of going in the flow. So that strength that can be gotten by this science of self-realization, and these are described as the sages. Right? This is an interesting thing we are going to next now. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord that his so-called birth in the material world and his activities are all transcendental. And simply by meditation on such activities, one can attain realization of Brahman and thus become liberated from the material bondage. Right? Krishna says, right, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha. One who inquires, one who knows about in truth, tattva deham punarjanmana yeti mameti sajna. In the Shrutis it is said that the birthless appears to take birth. So, this sentence, we can see when we read this, usually we pass it on, but usually any person who is intelligent comes and says, "Come on, what do you mean? Am I looking so much foolish to you?" Even the sentence formation itself, contradicts. Birthless takes the birth. The Supreme has nothing to do, but because he is omnipotent, everything is performed by him naturally as if done automatically. And this is the word ajanasya. No, not ajanasya, akartu, of the inactive. He doesn't do things, but the things gets done. So, yeah. So how do we understand this? It is like you take to the, especially go to a child and say this, birthless takes birth, then birth, and he's not going to take it. Come on, you're just making me fool. That's the problem in this. That's the problem in the spiritual circles, that there's this contradicting statement, and they completely go away from it, right? So, but what is the way to find them, to know what does it mean? So that's what Prabhupada says. As a matter of fact, the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his different activities are all confidential, even to the Vedic literatures. So it is such an important verse for us. It's an open and secret. The message of this verse. Even after knowing it, as I was telling, right, we hear it, even I took notes, but at the point of application comes, it's blank, and it's so confidential. The confidentiality is Varnayanti Smakavyo. This, the lock is with the with this learned man. Right? It's the secret. It's the key is there. It's right in front of us. The whole the secret, but we don't have the key to unlock it. The key to unlock it is hear from this learned man who are describing this confidential. Otherwise, you go to try to find. Even if you research the Vedic literatures, you are not going to find it. What to speak of Googling or anything else. Yet they are displayed by the Lord to bestow mercy upon the conditioned souls. That's altogether a different topic. Long. We can go long on it, but Prabhupada says we should take advantage of the narrations of the activities of the Lord, which are meditations on Brahman in the most convenient and palatable form. So that's the Prabhupada is saying. Basically, this verse is saying there is Janmani Karmani activities of this unborn inactive person, and you try to understand them. Veda Guhyani Krutpate, you cannot find the meaning of it. It's very confidential, but one can learn this Varnayanti Smakavyo. They are recited by the learned man. Just go. That's what Krishna says right in Bhagavad Gita. It is so complex subject, but if you really want to learn, go to this, find this self-realized person, Tattva Darshini, who has seen the truth, and inquire from him submissively, serve him, and what is it, the other one? Sevya. Yeah, inquiry, service, inquiry, and submission. So through that, the knowledge gets revealed. The knowledge gets imparted in the heart, not just it get taught or something like that. The self-realization becomes manifest. So, and this process is much easier, much palatable, convenient. We don't need to go somewhere. We don't need to go or do some austerities. Like the people do a lot of austerities for the self-realization, restraining the senses, you know, doing tapas in this cold weather and in the heat, and taking a lot of austerities. But simply in this month of Kartik, just take advantage of this process of devotion service, and we don't need to, even stop going to work or doing anything else also. Actually, we don't even need to even stop eating, because that's one of the prime austerity known and suggested to the people, doing the fasting. People fast. Like when Dhruv Maharaj went, he fasted from eating, and then fasted from water, and fasted from even breathing. But Lord Chaitanya's mercy and Prabhupada's mercy, we can happily enjoy prasadam and keep ourselves up and get going. So that's all from my side. Essentially, like the thing I was going to is, we need to help each other. To say it is easy. When it comes to application, it's not going to be that easy, right? But we can all take small steps, small book distribution principle, right? Mustard seed of faith every day. And each of us doing, we can help each other, and that's what our association and community means. That is what, that's what the real service to the mission and this organization. We are not religious or Hindus, we are spiritualists. Spiritualist means we are spiritually happy, spiritually ecstatic. That's all. It's a short one. Any comments and thoughts how we can do it always? What can we do? I mean, we are already doing it, we just need to redefine and refine it. That's all.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And somehow the way you were sharing, it's really very connecting, particularly to the narration. It says you were stressing on that point we should always take advantage of.
Yeah, let's take advantage.
That's where you have it right in front of you, and you kind of keep going here and there, trying to see what I can do. That's really nice. The other point, I was really happy reading this purport, the last sentence Prabhupada is mentioning, very convenient and palatable form. I was connecting to what Guru Maharaj was sharing in the Yatra, I think in initiation lecture he mentioned. Prabhupada's audience is this whole world, and he has given this in this baby food format. I was really appreciating this whole section. If not for Prabhupada's purpose, it's like kind of drives me crazy, and maybe I would say, okay, I will not read Bhagavatam. It's kind of very, the nature itself, as we are hearing, nature itself, it seems like open, and mind goes material intelligence and logic, but then we won't get it. It's very fascinating, at the same time sometimes bewildering and frustrating. But thanks to Prabhupada, it's really very wonderful. I have a question for you. Regarding this Brahman realization, this particular statement, I was kind of a little confused here. Prabhupada is saying, and simply by meditation and such activities, one can attain realization of Brahman and thus become liberated from material bondage. Is Prabhupada mentioning about Bhagavan realization?
No, Brahman. This is for someone to come onto the spiritual platform. So the previous verse is Viratru, and then there's this process of self-realization, and then even before coming there, get onto the spiritual platform, that we are spiritual beings, even before doing the devotion service.
So it's going in that sequence.
So you hear the narrations of the Lord, and then when you do things in the meditation and the narrations of the Lord, what happens to those things? They become spiritualized.
Yeah.
You know. So that this is about coming to the Brahman platform, spiritual platform.
Okay. So it's talking in that sequence. The reason I was kind of little stuck because you mentioned that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, so we have to realize the Brahman, then only Krishna says Bhaktim Labhate Param.
Yeah.
So I was a little confused because we have been reading Ishopanishad purports and it's like we don't want to go towards that Brahman or Paramatma realization.
That does it's not. It doesn't mean like that. So we need to. Krishna is fully spiritual, and devotion service is complete when you do it service on that platform. Until that point, it's all a concession. Doubtedly, you perform this devotion service in the modes, like in 81 ways you can perform.
Yeah.
These are in the modes.
Yeah.
So until this point, we are just trying to do something. But devotion service to Krishna is not on the ordinary platform. So that's actually Nista platform. It equates to the Brahman platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. That's when the real devotion service starts. When one comes to the Nista platform. Until that point, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti is all prepping up.
Yeah. So we have to understand in that sense when we are talking about Bhagavan realization, it's encompassing the Brahman and Paramatma realizations. Probably the Ishopanishad purports are, Bhagavad.
I don't know what is the purport says.
So we should not go towards impersonal Brahman probably. It's like where one stops at the impersonal Brahman.
Yeah, you
should
not stop there. Yeah.
Okay. But when we worship Krishna,
it all includes.
like understanding all three concepts.
All the concepts, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because most of the times Prabhupada.
The example given is, you cannot be fiery unless you cannot serve the fire unless you become fire, something like that.
Yeah, you cannot be with the fire. Yeah.
So same thing. Unless we come onto the spiritual devotional platform, that's when we get bhakti. Until that point we're just hanging on. We need to somehow get onto that Brahma Bhuta platform, seeing everyone as spirit souls. Or the other way to put it is Nista platform. Our devotion doesn't get blocked by this cold weather or this happiness and distress or things like that. That's when the bhakti really manifests, and then it goes from sweetness and full spiritual realization takes place after that. But still there is some lingering effects, subtle effects after Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti and even Bhava. But that's downhill. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The point I liked is the reactive and proactive approach, right? So once we know, like we're saying, we are spirit souls, and we are suffering. So are we react to the situations or being proactive and take the advantage of the
proactive is actually high, then responsive.
Responsive.
It will be nice if you can come into the proactive. We want to get onto the proactive. That will be much awesome.
React.
Responsive.
Reactive, responsive, proactive.
Oh, proactive is third level. Okay.
If we can come to the proactive, that is, we are ready. The snow is going to come, but we are equipped to perform our devotion service. Or we're going to get, all the discouragement, but we are still, ready to be with Krishna. But before that is okay, snow has come, so I need to figure out something. Or whereas reactive is, oh God, snow has come, nothing, I cannot do anything, only Krishna can help. Or like, this devotion service is not for me. even even we can say only Krishna has to help, that is also like reactive, in the sense like not taking responsibility.
Yeah.
If you take responsibility and then depend on Krishna, that is nice. And if we get into project, that is much awesome. That's we should all. It is nice to all of us to aim for. Then ISKCON will flourish. These things are going to come. Snow, this thing, that thing. This is the material world. The scarcity, the war, and everything is going to come. Right. So, but we are equipped to continue devotion service. How it will be like Krishna comes and stay with us.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I cut you.
No, that's fine. I was thinking the responsive and proactive part is similar. So still there is a difference there. So
that's my thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's. So I was just connecting. It's like it's very much applicable to spiritual process, right? We should be ideally in that zone where we will grow in a nice manner, right? So otherwise, it's eventually it's going to lead to a trouble, like it's misery. Our material life is miserable, right? We will be succumb to all these miseries of the life. So similar concept actually I just thought when you were telling. Even in the material world, this concept is there. Even in engineering as well as in the medical circles, this concept of diagnosis, prognosis means there are departments actually. If you see big companies, there is a prognostic department. What they do is, all they do is before machine gets in the trouble, how to avoid it, and even if it's going to get in trouble, they want to predict it when it's going to, so that they can replace that.
Proactive.
Yeah. So it's a big department actually. If you see many researchers working on those kind of stuff, even in the material sense, it makes a sense to be responsive and proactive, to know ourselves, to avoid the trouble, right? So I was just thinking, even medical circles also nowadays, I think that's what. Even before you get sick, you be every year you go and check up yourself, control variable variables, right? Take care and see what is changing and take precautions even before you get sick. So
even the modern technology advancement is all the same thing. Now we can know when the volcano is going to come, when the hurricane is going to come. There's the sensors. They predict before it happens. But Krishna says actually good luck.
Of course, they are not successful. I just said concept. It's very much applicable.
Very much applicable. For us practicing devotion service. We can equip ourselves. We can take charge of our spiritual life, spiritual journey. Instead of saying that okay, Krishna's mercy will happen, but His mercy will come more when we are proactive. There's a saying, right? God helps who helps themselves, something like that. And we can also best take advantage. Yes, we need to get relieved from material energy to get to that. But that is all nice aspirations, for us. There's another embellishment to this is, people might say, okay, anyway, Krishna's mercy is needed. I will wait until Krishna's mercy comes. Like that is also there. So there's this approach in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, right? In ignorance, everything is misery, start and end. In the passion, it is fun now, and then later is misery, right? And then, but the goodness is you do austerity now, but it's going to be fun. It's proactive. watched it enough, it's going to be fun later. You enjoy this eternal, unborn, inactive life. Life immune to this material world.
I just want to share that.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, I also like that concept so much. Taking responsibility for our life, that's what I'm also like very actively trying to mold my life. Otherwise, like things will keep coming at the end of the day. Where did you go? It's better to plan ourselves. Okay, I want to go. I want to do this. I want to, get to this advancement in devotion life. We want to cultivate these qualities, plan, and then prepare for it. And then it is going to be so nice that so much so that Krishna will be pleased. Right? I always remember Vamsidhari Prabhu says, don't try to see Krishna, but act in such, conduct yourself in such a way that he wants to see you. So, different people have different styles, but yeah, thank you for joining the team. Okay, we have 5 minutes. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.